best. We're talking about Craig earlier. He's our helpful beep boop bot to help us record this. Because I'm in Mexico and I don't have my setup to do the sexy recording and live visual streaming. So this will be purely in your ears for all our fans out there. So soak up our sweet, sweet voices. And we'll get that stream up as soon as I get back from Puerto Vallarta. So
And we got to apologize to all the fans at home that have been missing our sweet, sweet voices. It's been a little bit.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we have still had our voices there. It's just we had our faces
wait on
also.
our faces.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been quote unquote off the air for a good bit. A lot has happened. We got Urban Meyer has been basically run out of Jacksonville.
Yeah, the world is a better place.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's where we'll start. Honestly, yeah, I show me one NFL coach that made a big name, made their name and their fame in college football and carried that over to the NFL. It's few and far between, I think.
Carroll's done all right. He'd be one.
Pete Carroll, true, actually true.
You're right. There's not many at all.
Yeah, where did Pete Carroll?
USC.
USC. Interesting. Okay.
The Reggie Bush days.
Dude, he's old, man. How old is Pete Carroll?
Like
he keeps on chewing that gum. I'm almost confident
keeps the
it's
doctor
the same.
away.
I think it might be the same piece of gum.
That gum's as old as him. Yeah, he's 70 years old.
Did you say
he's 70?
Yeah, he's 70 years old.
Wow.
It's the new 50.
That's a lot older than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's old. Yeah. Good for him, man.
Yeah.
Dude. Wow. Yeah, I mean what's Belichick? Belichick's not 70, is he yet?
Belichick doesn't actually have
69.
Oh god, Belichick. I didn't know Belichick was so sexy. Why is this the
Belichick
first?
is younger than Pete Carroll.
By 1 year.
That feels wrong.
Yeah.
That does feel wrong. I think it's the gum. I think it's the gum invigorates like Pete Carroll's face and his muscles, and so he's very uplifted face where Belichick's very like, pressed down. He's like very he looks like the old man and old
the
man
way
by
he
the
wears
sea.
his sweatpants doesn't help his age perception also.
That that is true. And the hoodies, like the hoodies, and he's kind of all like scrunched over.
I'm personally excited for the Steve Belichick era whenever it begins, just because every time that man and his mullet and the strange things he does with his mouth graces my television screen, my day gets a little bit better.
He's the one with the mullet, right?
Oh, it's a very mullety mullet.
I think what he should do, he should implement like a like a team wide or organization wide mullet. Everyone on the Patriots just has a mullet.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that people with straight hair just like shouldn't have mullets.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree strongly. In fact,
I'm with Jeremy on this one.
Big curly mane in the back, you're like, that's a mullet. When someone's got just straight hair in the back, you're like, oh, that's a mullet.
It's like that guy has tried to kiss his cousin before. And that's the difference. It's like fashionable, or it's like...
Well, there's no business in the front. I think we can agree upon that. There's no business going on in the front. It's just party in the back, party in the front. There's no business.
Party everywhere. Party everywhere. Yeah, we kind of got off track. Dude, this is what happens when I'm in Mexico. I've been in the sun all day. I can't keep us on track. But Urban Meyer, I like it. No, I think the thing about the Urban Meyer topic is, dude, like no one's surprised. I mean, I think we all saw this coming.
Every level of the organization. I think
Yeah,
glad
and
to see him
problems
go.
off the field as well. So it's like on the field,
I mean,
off the field.
yeah. Keep the lap dances, in the strip club, not at your own college bar, I guess.
Yeah,
That's the moral of the story.
Camera. At the very least,
And not on camera. Yeah, that is a big one. Destroy all phones, Urban Meyer, next time you go into a bar. But I think the bigger story there, which is what we were talking about before we started recording, is Trevor Lawrence, man, is like not even close to living up to expectations. He touchdowns. How many touchdowns does he have? Someone quote me on the. Give me.
Is it not one?
No, that's since November. I'll look it up.
He has so he has 3,000. He has 32 yards. He has 9 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Yikes!
And yeah, against the Titans, he had 0 touchdowns. In the last 3 games, he's had 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not good, guys. That's not good.
I'll have to admit, I haven't watched a Jaguars game.
You're not missing out.
Yeah, I mean, why?
They're gross.
Why would you? He hasn't had a multi-touchdown game yet. He has yet to throw 2 touchdown passes in a game.
I think our take from this was, how lucky is this guy that he is in a market nobody cares about right now? Yeah. Because if he is in any market that is even marginally relevant, he is front page news every week for continuing to underachieve in a colossal way.
Yeah, and it's a market that nobody cares about, and it's also a team, an organization that has other people to point fingers to, namely Urban Meyer,
True.
to take a lot of the heat for how awful the team is doing. While Trevor Lawrence, I mean, his stat lines are awful too, but you can blame it on Urban Meyer. Matt, you made the excellent point earlier before we started recording that if he was playing this poorly in a place like on the Jets or in Miami, we would be pointing a lot more fingers at him, and that's saying a lot because it's not like the Jets and the Dolphins are some great team. They're also really bad, but the Jaguars just have so much other stuff around him that you could point fingers at that he doesn't get that blame. So yes, he's very lucky.
I think one thing we can look at is this really talented ex-Fox Sports analyst named Urban Meyer. A couple years back, did a special on criteria to examine for struggling teams, and he gave his big 3. And those were dysfunctional environment, selfishness, and trust issues.
Oh, boy.
If we look at this team under the lens of Urban Meyer's criteria for struggling teams, I think we've seen at the coaching level, at least, some selfishness. Definitely a dysfunctional environment. Selfishness, I think, when you skip traveling with the team so you can get a lap dance at your own restaurant, we'd call that selfish.
That's a big one.
Dysfunctional environment, when your head coach is literally kicking your kicker. Generally speaking, that's a dysfunctional environment.
That's
a ballsy move because you know that guy can kick back.
Dude, so for context for our listeners, the real nail in the coffin was not even like the lap dance stuff, not traveling with the team, not our performance of his rookie quarterback. It was that it came out one of the former, I believe, kickers for that team had recently been kicked by Urban Meyer after a practice after he had missed a field goal or something like, or an extra point, and kicked him and said, make your fucking goals or what, make your kicks or whatever.
What kind of grown man kicks another man?
Yeah.
And
so
the guy said something too, and was like, "What the
was
hell,
just like,
man?" And
yeah,
Meyer's like,
don't
"I'm the head
talk to
coach.
me
I
like
can
that.
kick whoever I want."
Yeah. That does beg the question, is like, what has Urban Meyer done in college to his college players in the past that's just like no one gave a shit about because they're just college players, and no
True.
reporters going up to them and asking them like, what do you think about your coach Urban Meyer?
That's a
And
great
even if they did, would they say anything?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that I see, like, I bet he got to push those kids around like crazy and never got any back talk, and now he's dealing with adults who like
Yeah.
know how to carry themselves and know how they should be treated, and they have the agency to say something and push back, and he's all frustrated because he's not in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's been bad.
that. Yeah, I mean, and college has seen some, we talked earlier about coaches moving, the issue with coaches moving mid-season in college football, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the top like high school recruits, he's like a wide receiver or a corner. Instead of going to like one of the top schools, went to an historically black college. I think it was Jackson State.
He went to
Um,
Dion Sanders. So he's the head coach there. Went to his
yes,
school.
and yeah, so former player Dion Sanders. He was a wide receiver, right?
He was a corner, he was a DB. He did
He's a
play on
DB.
offense occasionally because he was just that sort of athletic freak.
Like,
But he's
Yeah.
one of the greatest defensive backs to ever
Yeah.
play. He was named Prime Time. He was a big personality, and I think they probably hired him in many ways at Jackson State so that he could up the profile and attract some of these kinds of players.
Yeah.
And starting a real movement.
Yeah, and that, I think that was part of the reason this recruit, a huge part of the reason this recruit went to the college, was because Deion Sanders is kind of, yeah, like Matt said, heading the football program, but a ton of pushback, a ton. I mean, I'm pulling up some of the like like on Fox Sports and on ESPN, people just being like, what a huge mistake. This kid is like not going to get like the proper training, and he's not going to get as good of like all this different stuff, amenities, all, because obviously those other colleges, Clemson and,
Yes, Florida State is where he was going to go.
oh,
FSU.
okay. Yeah.
Which sort of interesting side story there was Dion Sanders' alma mater. So he stole
Really?
his own alma mater's #1 recruit.
That's super interesting. I mean, of course, like, I think of course those large media like conglomerates are peddling the same narrative of like follow the money, basically. Like, they're getting the same money in the same cash grab as these giant universities. They're in partnerships with these giant universities, and it's in their best interest that the best players go to them.
Yeah,
And
totally.
but I think it's really great for that. It takes a lot to step aside and not follow the money and the hype, and to say, I want to do this because it's what I want to do. And I think it's also really cool to see talent going to these less represented places that don't have just millions and millions and millions of dollars getting pumped into their programs.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
hey, I mean, look, Travis Hunter is similarly a defensive back slash sort of wide receiver, which you can sort of still be at that age because that's just similar athletic profile. He's going to go to Jackson State where his head coach is one of the best to ever play his position. So
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think if you really want to create a legacy, people have to go out there and make those kinds of decisions.
And if you're really talented, you're gonna end up in the league, and
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
you can make waves and do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, there are a lot of more and more we see a lot of small school players coming
Oh,
out and even being first round picks at the NFL level.
Vanderbilt. Yeah, a ton of them. Really, really good, especially like defensive players who don't get the hype, especially in football that offensive players or key positions, but game changers. Yeah, that's just the issue with college ball right now is it's just there's so much money in the top 1% of schools right now that it just smothers everything else, and yeah, the status quo needs to get upheld. Meanwhile, these people are just calling out this high school kid for yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's ridiculous. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
ridiculous. I mean, you don't have to look far. Just this last NFL draft, Trey Lance was what the number 2, 3, maybe number 3 pick to the I don't have it in front of me at the moment for the Niners who traded up to get him. North
yeah,
Dakota State. Guys coming out of North Dakota State. And his offensive lineman, Dylan Radunes, was also a first or second round pick that year. Again, North Dakota State. You go in there, you play
yeah,
well. Dion Sanders is going to draw attention to those games anyways. There's going to be eyes on
true.
you. You're going to have a shot at it.
Absolutely. There are
Yeah,
scouts for a reason, right? Like if only the only place that there were players coming from were these giant schools, you wouldn't need the scouting staff that these teams
Right.
have.
and I
Right.
think it's
Very true.
hilarious too because it's like all these like networks, like these news networks, sports news networks being like shining a light on this. It only helps the program more, I'm sure, man.
Yeah.
And so I think that's hilarious. I it's kind of like with the G League kind of like initiative in the NBA where they're trying to push high school recruits to do like a season in the G League before they go to the NBA, and they pay him, I don't know, $500,000 or something. We saw Jalen Green, who's second pick.
Second.
He did that. Um, and it's just like, yeah, it, college athletics is a whole. I mean, we could have like multi
Yeah.
episode talk about that, which we probably should. I'm sure as even more news comes out, but that the dynamics there is just
Yeah.
wacky. I don't know. Who
Well,
knows what's
great to
going
see
on there?
a recruit of Travis Hunter's caliber making a decision like that, a legacy decision, a principled decision about what he wants to be a part of, and empowering a program that will hopefully in turn empower players after him.
Yeah.
So big,
Well,
big win for Dion Sanders. Very big win for Coach Sanders.
true. True. That guy's got a great smile too.
Speaking
He's
of
he's
defensive
attracting
back, that's
all the
prime
high
time.
schoolers. It's like in that. Have you guys ever seen Dazed and Confused? Or
All right.
I keep
all
getting
right,
older and they stay the same
they're the
age.
same age, dude. That's Deion Sanders trying to recruit high schoolers.
There's a real Dion Sanders to Matthew McConaughey tie.
Yeah, that's probably the only tie you could do to those two human beings.
And speaking of defensive backs, we had talked earlier about a lot of hype around rookie Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trevon Diggs, Stephon Diggs' cousin, who's a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills.
Also, though, Micah Parsons, what isn't he a rookie too?
He is, and he's been a
balling.
stud this
He's
season.
he's the real deal.
He's the
He's
real
the
deal.
different. He's like the Aaron Donald type difference maker where like you have that and that makes you like the elite defense. Like that's to be in the top. Myles Garrett.
I mean, Micah Parsons came into the draft as like a middle linebacker. And then they just were like, hey, what if we just make him a defensive end instead and see what happens? Yeah. And now he's one of the most impactful defensive players in the league.
Yeah.
I've never seen he's like he's small for the size, like for the position. It's
because Aaron Donald is quick, but he's still like that dude like is a beefy man.
He benches 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald bench presses 500 pounds.
Aaron Donald bench presses me.
Gosh, that's insane. That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. But Trevon Diggs is getting all this hype for. I mean, the big reason he has 11 interceptions, franchise record, 11 interceptions this season, which is pretty impressive.
Super impressive.
Yeah. However, that's only like part of your job. Your other part of your job is like not allowing catches. And
I would say primarily your job is to not allow catches.
The worst starting cornerback in the NFL at that. He's allowed more receiving yards this season than any other cornerback in the entire league with 790. And he's allowed a passer rating of 115, which is higher than a lot of starting quarterbacks' passer ratings.
Oh yeah. Dude,
it's a really powerful dichotomy of like he doesn't do his primary job, but he does get intercepted, which cause a shit ton of hype and are these really big plays in games that certainly are impactful, and that many interceptions are impressive, but he's not doing his job.
No. So just before we move on here, 115 is actually higher than any quarterback's passer rating this season. So Aaron Rodgers is in first with 111. So if you throw the ball to Trevon Diggs,
you have a pretty good chance.
Throwing like the best quarterback in the league. Better than the best quarterback in the league is the passer rating he's allowing.
In years. Well, and that's so the 11 interceptions is historic if he can get a few in the next weeks to come, because it's the record is 14 in a single season.
For the league?
Yeah.
If I was him, I wouldn't want to break that record. Because if you break that record, now it immortalizes this season where everybody can see that record and say, oh, this guy has the most picks ever. And then everybody can immediately go, yeah, but he had like the worst coverage out of anybody playing the game otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it worth? Like, are they? Maybe they're just playing him, hoping that because like you want him to get better at that, and so you got to give him snaps. But it doesn't seem worth it to have that guy out on the field, regardless of those picks.
It's a liability.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, like, in the playoffs, that gets exposed. I mean, you just have, like, really good, wide receivers and really good the West wide receivers, best quarterbacks out there. You have to play. You can't be playing the interception because, Mahomes or... I mean, especially like in the AFC, there are good teams.
Yeah, well, he's I mean, we're gonna see it. Cowboys are going to the playoffs. They're number 2 in the NFC right now, between the Packers and the Rams. They've clinched the division. Granted, it's arguably the worst division in football, but they've clinched it.
I think it is. If we're being honest with
we're gonna see how this team does. I'm sure there's a lot of people saying this is the Cowboys' year.
Oh God, dude, Skip Bayless.
Every year. Yeah.
I also saw some crazy. Stat that since 2003, there has been a different winner every year there has no winner of that division has ever won it back to back since 2003.
Wow.
NFC East. That's terrible.
That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, you look at the teams there, and I mean it.
The Cowboys have had a great season, 11-4. That's an excellent season. But no, yeah, I mean, the next best team in that division is 6-9. That's the Washington Football Team. They don't even have a name.
Yeah.
Their defensive linemen were
Super
literally
surprised.
punching each other on the sidelines this week. Did you guys watch the game?
They
literally punched each other on the sidelines.
Wait, did you not see that? Yeah.
They were getting blown out so badly.
Yeah, on the sideline, two of the defensive. I think they were. I forget. Were they like? Yeah, they were big boys. Let me tell you that.
Defensive tackles. These are 300+ pound dudes.
One just shoves a finger in the other one's face, and the other one gets up and just takes a swing. And they said that the quote in the post game press conference was like, "Oh, we're just hatching out a brotherly argument or something." I'm just like, dude, it's okay. We can all see it. Like,
I'm super surprised.
I want to say something like 30-3 to the Cowboys.
Yeah, no, it's really bad.
So I mean,
the Cowboys haven't won that division twice in the last 10 years.
No, well, last season people were like, "This is their time. They're getting older. Like they're coming into their own," and they just shit the bed. I mean, they really underperformed, and then this season, I think they overperformed.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, people thought the Washington Football Team was going to be better. Their defense was nowhere near as good as their defense last season was incredible.
And they lost Ryan Fitzpatrick, lost starting quarterback beginning of the season.
Yeah, Heineke wasn't able to do what he needed to do.
No, and
the score was 49-7.
Gosh,
Cowboys versus Washington Football Team.
That hurts.
So that's the kind of thing that makes players punch each other on the sidelines.
I feel bad for Heineke because he does show like glimpses of some real talent, and he looks good.
And he's the underdog that everyone wants to like, and everyone's rooting for him, even if you're not a Washington Football Team fan. But yeah, man, it doesn't quite have it. To be an elite quarterback at least, and he's
not good enough. He's got good weapons. Got a okay offensive line. He's not good enough. He scored. I mean, he ended up with 14 points this game because he got garbage. I mean, look, it's a game where the second quarter was garbage time. This thing was over before it started.
I mean, yeah. The Cowboys put out Cooper Rush
7 for 22. 7 for 22.
Speaking of getting benched, though, did you see Cam Newton got benched against the Tampa Bay Bucks? It's just sad. It's sad. I mean, it's reminiscent of. It's funny because in our fantasy basketball group chat, our friend Nick just really wants Isaiah Thomas to like make a comeback, and a lot of people do. And it's this feeling of just like, I think it's done, man. I think it's done. And it's like Cam Newton, Isaiah Thomas, the golden years were there, and remember them fondly. And, you like, just, be ready. You never know if you'll get the call up, but I think people trying to peddle the narratives that like they're on this comeback tour, it just makes it sadder to watch.
I agree. And you know what the tough difference is that Cam Newton had some big contracts, and Isaiah Thomas never got the contract. He just timing wise got really unlucky got injured during his contract seasons, and he never got the big contract despite the numbers he put up and the impact he had when he was healthy. And he's never going to.
I will say, super interesting stat that I came across the other day. Do you know who has the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL the last 10 years?
Got to be Cam.
It's Cam Newton. Yeah.
Yeah, got to be Cam.
That's wild for a quarterback to hold that. That's pretty remarkable.
And you saw it. I mean, literally, when the first few games they brought him back, he didn't even start. They would bring him in when they're in the red zone, and they'd just be like, "Dude, fucking just go!" Like like it. And that's where he shined. But it's his arm. I don't. I mean, I think he injured his shoulder or something. And he's just, his arm's not there. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the the strength to throw long balls. And it's
But you know what? He made $133 million in his career.
And you're right. I definitely don't feel as bad for Cam Newton as I do Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, that really did suck. He was their team. He was their team before they got Jason Tatum. And he was,
I believe,
keeping
third in MVP voting his last year with the Celtics.
Yeah, and I think he was he was averaging the most points that season, like 30 something. And they carried the Celtics to like second or first seed in the East. And I mean, of course, they lost to LeBron James and the Cavs, but
that was I don't know how well you guys remember. It was a very emotional series. That was when he was playing through an injury and his sister had just died in that car accident.
Yeah,
and he was out
because
there playing playoff games, and then they traded him that off season.
Yeah, and also Isaiah Thomas and his family's from Tacoma, which is where we went to college. And so he'd always come to the. I mean, he's been to our basketball gym and court and
very nice guy.
Do you guys want to guess? Do you guys want to guess the highest yearly, like the highest salary he had at any given year that he was in the NBA?
Oh,
Isaiah?
God.
Yeah.
10 million?
5 million?
7.2 was 2014, 2015 season. His last season, or no, his first season at the Celtics, 7.2 million that year.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think
that's not.
None of us would mind $7 million. It sounds
nice. Just that. I mean, this is the ultimate tangent. We're very good at tangents, by the way. But like Danny Ainge, like people talk about Danny Ainge like he's this GM that's just killed it, and he's ruthless, and he gets all these draft picks and all this different stuff. He has squandered the Celtics' chances so many times, and he keeps
replaced with Brad Stevens now.
Yeah.
Because of that, exactly.
I just think he was not a good GM. He did not make great decisions. He stockpiled. He did this the classic thing where he stockpiled picks, and that made it look like, wow, look at him. He's building this dynasty. But you got to do more than that. You got to keep the players. Like, he got rid of Isaiah Thomas. I mean, Jason Tatum is kind of, honestly, to me, Jason Tatum is going nowhere fast. Like, if I was the Celtics, I would trade Jason Tatum. I'd keep Jaylen Brown. And I just think that, like Danny Ainge, and that's, I mean, to the Isaiah Thomas story, just really is like really shitty. I mean, that was shitty, and the Celtics are having like a bad year for their standards. And
yeah, I mean, I think he made one great move, Danny Ainge did, which was that he didn't stick with the old regime for too long. He traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett when they were in their like absolute ends of their careers. He fleeced the Brooklyn Nets, who were at that point the New Jersey Nets. Got a ton of draft picks. So many draft picks, the league immediately made a rule limiting the number of first-round draft picks you're allowed to trade at one time because they knew that the Nets had just shot themselves in the foot. He made that great trade and then rested on that really for the rest of his tenure in Boston. And made a couple good draft picks in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We'll see what happens with their development. But they were the right picks at the time, at the very least.
Yeah.
But he was never really put together a roster around those guys. Kyrie was not the right addition to that team, and that squandered a lot of their resources. Shipping out Isaiah Thomas the way they did really hurt the team's profile. I would imagine, not just with fans, but I would imagine with other players to see.
Well, and think about this: their last three starting like star point guards, Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, all left the team on very, I would say, pretty not good terms. And all those three seemed like the cornerstones, if one maybe or maybe one of the cornerstones of that team.
It's really interesting that they're having as much trouble as they are, because I really like their roster. I think, to your point, like, I think Jason Tatum I disagree that he's not going anywhere. Like, I think he is that guy. The issue I see is the chemistry that exists between him and Jaylen Brown. Like, I think they're both too ball dominant, and because of that, the offense doesn't have as much flow as it needs to have. They're really good at ISO ball. Al Horford and Marcus Smart, they bring a lot of the chemistry to that team that's needed. But between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I think the roles that they play are too similar to be the two guys on their team.
Here's one thing I would say when they played the Lakers a few times, the ball freezes, not even stops. It's Carmelo-esque.
Yeah, that's exactly
freezes in Tatum's hands. And you can just see Jaylen Brown. He can, great jump shot. Defensively, he is a stud. Better than Tatum, even though Tatum has a better build, honestly, for defense. And dude, the Tatum plays like Kobe, but just is not Kobe. And that's so dangerous. That is so dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I see a lot of Melo in him, which I think you can see from the time he came out of Duke. He played like that, and Melo was a great player, and Jason Tatum is supremely talented. But if you're not going to play within the offense and you're going to go pure ISO ball,
too much ISO,
you have to be the best player in the league.
You have to be Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and you're just not. And so then what? Now you're stuck with a team that has no cohesive offense. And I think I think Marcus Smart has called it out a couple times. I think he's 100% right. He's looking at these two young kids dominating the ball. This team's not winning enough games, and they're not making any changes.
I just think, I think it's a similar situation, I think, to which is still to your point, Jeremy, like in Portland. It's like Dame and CJ McCollum. It's like that is like gone way too long. I mean, at least Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are young enough to where you could be like, okay, there's still more development to come, and we could, somehow make a cohesive unit out of these two players. But like with Portland, it's like they've been running that duo for too long, and I just hate the Celtics to get in the same place.
Yeah, I know that's great.
Yeah. And they've lost their identity. I mean, I think people forget that when Isaiah Thomas was on this team and they were making playoff runs, and even early in Tatum's rookie year, they made a nice run. This was a team that prided itself on physical defense first basketball and ball movement on offense.
Ball movement. I mean, think about
Yeah.
Brad Stevens
This team is
was
totally off
like
that.
was I think coach of the year that one year, and was
Yeah.
like revered as just having this like really intricate, good flowing offense. And we're not talking about Brad Stevens much these days.
No, and I mean he's their GM now, like as of somewhat recently, but they're still running his scheme, and even before he left the coaching role, they were still having the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution
Yeah.
is there. The trade Tatum is certainly the nuclear option for that team. I don't know that you're wrong in the sense of whether or not it's the right option. I
See,
definitely don't think they'll do it. They
I
definitely
don't think they'll. I
They
don't think they'll do it. Yeah, and I don't think they'll do it, and it could be definitely more. Yeah, it could. I could definitely see it being more harmful. I just like when I've the two games that I watched was against the Lakers. It just like Jaylen Brown um had such a bigger impact to me. I thought a good impact. Like Jason Tatum has a huge impact, but I don't know if it's always positive. Um,
It certainly was less well rounded. I think
yeah, and I just think like who at this point who do you guys think is better? You know, and if you're looking at it like that, then you trade the one who's not as good. You know,
I
Yeah,
think that
but
I think that the issue is that the perception is that Jason Tatum is better because he puts up better stat lines, and he is the face of their team. And so I think while I think Jaylen Brown plays a more well-rounded game and likely has a
yeah,
larger X factor in impact on the offense, I think it would be like a politically awful move for them to get rid of Jason Tatum. And I think
well,
no,
it would.
and even
I
outside of
agree.
that, you're never going to get somebody of comparable value back. You're
Yeah.
never going to get a 25 and under year old star player. So
And, yeah, but here's my point. It's like I don't think you need
mm,
to to if you see. I think you could trade Jason Tatum for Ben Simmons and draft picks from the 76ers. And honestly, I think Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown would do as good or better as they're doing now. And you have picks going forward, multiple picks again, and then you see, if you can. But that's tough. I mean, that's
Politically, I don't think you could. Like, I think that it
nah,
would look too bad as a franchise move.
yeah,
yeah, I think honestly, I think this is a development issue. This is somebody in that building needs to get it through Jason Tatum's head that this isn't the kind of basketball you want to be playing. Because
yeah,
he's a great
true.
player talent wise, and there's no reason that his style of basketball can't be more conducive to be playing within the offense. It can be. We've seen him do it, but there's something in his approach right now that has altered over the past couple seasons where he's trying to be a different kind of player and it's hurting the team.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true. I it's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking for me, because I love the Celtics. I love when the Celtics. For some reason the Celtics and Lakers always seem to be here. Lakers always kind of come a little bit ahead. Here's my also here's another interesting fact is um what percentage of the Celtics titles came from uh the era of like I think it was like 80s, 70s, 80s.
With
Since
Bird,
then,
Larry
like
Bird.
Bird and McHale.
yeah. and then before that,
Bill Russell.
with Bill Russell. Like I think I saw this on Twitter. There was some stat like since like 1990 or something, they've won
They've only won one championship in 2008 since 1986.
Yeah.
So they won 1981, 1984, 1986, and then not till 2008. And they had 2 titles in the 70s and a bunch in the 60s.
Yeah, that was with Bill Russell had like 11 or something. And that's where it's so funny when people still talk about the Celtics like they're the winningest, franchise. But it's like in the last almost 40 going close to 40 years now, they really haven't been. They've been
one title in the last 35 years.
Yeah, I mean, they had a good team, but even with their almost big four, you could say, with Ray Allen, they only won one. Kobe Bryant beat them, and his second best player was Pau Gasol. They haven't really been. I mean, you would. That's no one talks about the Spurs. As it's always like Lakers, Celtics.
Yeah.
I think Lakers have done enough.
Legacy. They lean on their so.
Yeah. I just think that's so interesting.
Even the Pistons have been more successful over that time. But they have 3 titles since '89. It's been a while. They haven't won one in 15-ish years.
2004, they beat people talk about like stacked teams, super teams. That was against 2004 Lakers, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton.
Yep.
And the Pistons beat them with Chauncey Billups. Yeah. And
Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, was it Tayshaun Prince? I mean, it was a good team, and they're viewed as one of the worst.
And that goes to the question is like, what's the true goal for NBA franchises? Is it to be the Detroit Pistons, where you have some iconic, Isaiah Thomas beating the Bulls in the 90s, and then you have this ragtag team beating the Super Lakers in 2004, and then you're shitty for, a decade? Or are you like the Celtics, who get kind of close? They have stints here and there. Well, maybe they'll get there. But mostly you're just second round.
Yeah, well, I'll give you. I think the best example of that, the Atlanta Hawks, for a stretch when Mike Budenholzer was their head coach and their team was Al Horford and Paul Millsap and Kyle Korver and Jeff Teague, had one of the longest playoff streaks in NBA history, where they went. I'm going to pull it up here for us. They went to the playoffs every year for, let's see, 11 seasons straight here in between 2008 and 2017. They were in the playoffs every single year between 2008 and 2007.
So yeah, like a decade, yeah.
Yeah, made some deep runs, including to the conference finals, and got swept by the Cavs.
It's hard to get past LeBron.
Hard to get past LeBron, what he did to that 4-4
How many teams, like Pacers, Hawks?
We should do a whole episode on that. How many tore apart Eastern teams.
How sad is that to think? Yeah, you're that mediocre. You're that mediocre playoff team because of one player.
Yeah. But Hawks. So when that team was taken apart, those players were many times asked about that, and many people viewed it as a failure. And they looked at that and said, "I think we were a great team. We were a playoff team for a decade straight." And just because we didn't win a championship, does that make that a failure of a run? Do you want to be that team that's in the playoffs every year? Or do you want to be the team that is garbage for 5 years, then you make a run and maybe win a championship, and then you're garbage for another 5 years?
It's an interesting question, for sure. I think Charles Barkley would be the first to say they're a great team. It's not always about the ring.
Yeah.
But the Hawks, they've won one championship in 1958. So in terms of their franchise legacy, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it comes down to rings, and they haven't gotten any since.
It's like the Trailblazers too, and it is actually a super good, not segue, but addition to the conversation was Amon Shumpert. I don't know if you heard this. Amon Shumpert on a podcast basically said, like, verbatim, word for word, LeBron ruined the NBA with the move, the move
Miami?
from
to
Miami,
the first super team.
the first super team, even though it's like
That's
Celtics.
bullshit. That's not the
Like,
first
it's
super
bullshit.
team.
Dude, and
Please.
and it's hilarious. It's hilarious because we're looking back at like Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Rick
the
Fox.
Big Four Celtics were literally
They're-
in Boston when LeBron made that move.
Yeah,
Those weren't
yeah.
all guys the Celtics drafted. They drafted
Yeah.
Paul Pierce. They went out and got Kevin Garnett. They went out and got Ray Allen. They drafted
Yeah,
Rondo.
they drafted
And that
Rondo,
was a
but
super team. And even you
yeah.
go farther back, the NBA has been a league where there has more often been super teams than there hasn't. You think the
Yeah.
Lakers and Celtics were just, wow, they must have drafted great players for all those decades.
No, yeah. Well,
No.
Laker, Kobe, Shaq, they picked up Shaq, and then
Kareem?
immediate. The
Wilt?
only, yeah.
Those aren't Laker lifers.
No.
Those are the effective super teams.
No, what the Lakers did good is they drafted amazing Hall of Fame role players. Like, they drafted like James Worthy to go along with Kareem, and that's a good point.
The reason why LeBron going to South Beach is this moment in history that so many people point to is not because of the actual players being on that team at the same time. It's because they threw a fucking parade before the season started. Like, they did it to themselves. They were like, look at us. Look what we're doing. It's big. It's
you're
super.
right. They set themselves up for failure. They won 2 championships.
No, absolutely. No, and I was listening to Chris Bosh the other day.
In 4 seasons.
He was super. Chris Bosh said he was super surprised by how much negativity they received in being the super team, because in his mind he was like, "Oh, we're getting me, LeBron, and D Wade together. People are gonna love watching those players play. They're gonna love watching that together." And people just hated it.
You know what they do? They do. You really think more people are gonna, watch the whatever, like, people want to watch the Warriors versus the Cavs.
Yeah.
They want to watch the Lakers versus the Celtics. They want to watch the Big Three Heat. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, is that, like, all the chatter and the titles and the clickbait and the talking heads are going to go off on all the hate against these guys. But those are the times when the league is at its best. Those are the times when most people are watching. That streak of Warriors Cavs game is the best I ever remember the NBA being.
It's funny because
phenomenal.
And that's the most I've heard people complain about the finals. But everyone's still, like you're saying, everyone's still watching them. But it's like, these 2 teams again. But it's like, that's what I mean. Think about the Lakers Celtics. I mean, the league was built on.
That's where the rivalries really fester, where it's like the same team year after year coming back and getting at it. Like, that's just good TV, let alone how good the basketball is. That's just like a great narrative.
Yeah. And you know what? It is great basketball. And those are the ones that people remember. They remember those runs.
Well,
I remember where I was sitting when I remember
Ray
where I was
Allen
sitting
fucking hit
when
that
Ray Allen
shot.
hit that shot, I remember where I was sitting when LeBron made the block and Kyrie made the shot. Like I remember those matchups
My
more
God,
than
yeah.
any of those other random ones. And yes, there's something romantic about us like being like, oh man, Suns Bucks, right? Milwaukee versus Phoenix. But you know what? Those
I've never
aren't
been
gonna
more
be
bored in my life, if I'm being honest.
That's not what people want. They want to watch Steph Curry and LeBron. They want to watch
Yeah,
Kobe and KG. Those are
yeah,
the games people want.
yeah. No, and I totally I just think it's people it's this thing where there's something about dudes dudes
About
that
dudes?
dudes
Tell me about that.
dudes love to pretend like they hate drama. All the reality shows, it's like, oh, this fucking sucks. But we're all sitting there with our girlfriends watching fucking The Bachelorette or whatever it is. And if you think about what sells in sports, it's that drama. And we love to shit on it, being like, this is stupid. But then when it's happening, we're like, oh my God, like, yeah, like, did you see that dunk? Did you see that block? I just think that's just, it's like a form of like nationwide denial, male
Yeah.
denial.
Yeah. And it's funny to like view that particular move as like the birth of super teams or dominant eras when it was literally on the heels of like Kobe and Shaq being in every finals for like
Yeah.
5 or 6 years. And the
I mean, think,
Spurs and the
uh
Pistons like going deep
oh,
in the playoffs every
yeah.
single year.
No one
Before
talks
that,
about the Spurs. The Spurs are like, just do not exist to people for that exact reason.
yeah, it's silly. So look at this. If we pull this up, all right, we look at the Heat with the big three Heat went to the finals for the first time in 2011. Immediately before that, the year before that, Lakers, super team
Mm.
Lakers. Before that, oh, and by the way, they were in 3 straight. The Celtics being in 2 of those. So
Yep.
those would be considered dominant super teams. Before that, we had Spurs.
Yep.
And then before that, again, was Heat Mavericks. Heat was a team that just added Shaq to a
Yeah.
team that already had D Wade. Before that, Spurs, Pistons, Lakers, Pistons, Spurs, Lakers, 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 Spurs. And then before that was Bulls three-peat
Yeah.
and them winning for like a decade. Before that was Pistons, Lakers, Celtics. I mean, literally, there is no period of time in the NBA you can look at where there aren't dominant super teams
I
making
mean,
the
Bill
playoff runs
Russell.
every year.
Think about Bill. Think about if someone like a player like Bill Russell comes into the league and just wins like 11 in like a 12 or 13-year span. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
that. People would just be hating on that person and being like, that person ruined. And
It's
it's
silly.
just,
I mean, the most significant moment in NBA history was probably the Larry Bird Magic Johnson rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics. That's where
yeah.
the profile really took off because you had two super teams to play each other every year. I mean, the NBA has always thrived off of
Yeah.
super teams.
Yeah.
If you look at like what is the goal of any given NBA player,
Yeah.
it's to win and to make money. Like
Yeah.
like those are the two things, and to play basketball because you love basketball. Like
That's third.
it's not like LeBron was bending rules or doing anything. Like he's just playing within the set of guidelines that exist to give him the best paycheck and the best chance at winning that he can get. And he already had the best paycheck he could get no matter where he went because he's LeBron
Yeah.
James. So he's just like, where's the best chance I have to win? Here it is. Like it's just to put that as like his responsibility is ridiculous. Like
I mean, if anyone should be blamed, it's the Cleveland front office at that time.
no, not even. If anything,
Ownership.
it would be the framework of the NBA to not allow such a thing. But no one would argue that because it's what we all want deep down. So to put that responsibility on LeBron, it's LeBron's fault. That's
Yeah.
just immature, and you're just clearly jealous of the success and life that he's had.
Yeah.
And it was great basketball. You know what? People
Absolutely.
remember those. People don't remember pre-Heat LeBron's Cavs. Nobody talks about that team.
Oh God, no.
No, even though they made a championship, like
What about
they went on
Warriors?
ones.
Free Steph and Clay and Draymond.
No, they remember they have iconic moments and iconic photos from that Big Three Heat run.
Yeah.
Iconic moments, iconic photos from Shaq and Kobe. Iconic from Splash Bros. Warriors versus the LeBron Kyrie Cavs. Those are the memories people hold on to, make people fall in love with the sport.
Another generation of basketball fans, I would say.
Yeah.
Like since the early 2000s, Kobe and Shaq, I would say the next big hype influence on young people getting into basketball was the big three in Miami.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then Splash Bros.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Yeah.
Steph Curry's got a whole generation of kids taking half court shots.
Talk about
Dude.
league, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. Now that that has been something else I've heard, especially in high school. I've heard a lot of like recruiters and scouts just like watch those games and just be like, what the hell is happening? Like,
Look no further. I mean, look no further in many ways than that sort of drama that just took place, where that middle schooler's shot was posted on Twitter by Overtime, where he like double dribbles and travels all within a shot, and then bricks one off the backboard. But it's this real fancy spinning 3-point step back kind of shot by an 8th grader. And Kevin Durant.
Well, he was 6th grade at the time, and now he's an 8th grader.
Yes. And Kevin Durant said this shit is trash.
Or no, he said this shit stinks.
Publicly shamed a 6th grader for his basketball. And other NBA players joined in because they looked at that and said this shit is trash.
I don't think that's right. I don't think NBA players should be trashing on middle school basketball. Like in my mind, if there's any time to hone your street ball behind the back weird moves, it's in middle school where the games that you're playing don't matter for shit.
True.
Like, I get the point, though. I mean, you've got a big publication in Overtime praising this kid for what is a garbage move. Is it probably uncalled for Kevin Durant to saying his shit is trash? Yes, there was a more mature way to handle that situation, and we know Kevin Durant is not always.
But I take it like as a response to the media outlet trying to hype it up. I definitely understand that response a lot.
Yeah, I think you have people that care a lot about the game, and they want to see people playing it the right way, and they view a trend of these kinds of garbage basketball.
Is there like something we can do, like not even in like the NBA, but just like in US law, where like old heads can only say so many things about the current like the current state of the game, the current players, current teams, or whatever, dude. The problem is, God, dude.
Anti-boomer law. You want some anti-boomer
especially, there's something about basketball, especially. Like, I watch football, and there's, like, some of that maybe, like, with, like, the helmet-to-helmet contact. But, like, other things is, like, football, it's still just, like, it's, like, the current game is the current game. There's something about the NBA and LeBron especially. Like, LeBron is not MJ. Like, if you say LeBron's name to an old head, it's like MJ will get brought up. You know?
Yeah, every ex-NBA player has strong opinions and feels the need to make them heard by everyone about who the state of the current game. And it is quite obnoxious.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's like I think a lot of it comes down to foul calls and how LeBron's soft and gets all these fouls, and we're also in an era of like a replay review where like you can see those hands hitting those arms or whatever. Like it's not like we're just arbitrarily making the game soft. Sorry, we're not going to allow bad boy Pistons to like literally beat the shit out of you when you go up for a board.
Dude, yeah.
And by the way, nobody thought that was good basketball back then either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people didn't like that.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't
mean,
good basketball.
Yeah, why do you think they got rid of all that stuff? I mean, they could have kept it just WWE, Malice at the Palace,
Right.
like they could have, I
Yeah.
mean, but they stamped it out for a reason, you know. Like the biggest thing we get is like LeBron James like accidentally elbowing this kid, and
He's
you know,
mad.
and he's mad, and
Man.
like I just it's just
Yeah, anybody who watches LeBron play and like looks at him just standing and existing and says this guy couldn't thrive in any era. I don't even care
oh
which era.
God.
Any
I
era of
hate that.
basketball.
I hate that shit.
You're
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah,
You're dumb.
Yeah.
You're dumb.
You're just
That's
a
it.
hater. You're just a
Yeah.
hater who likes hating on LeBron more than you like basketball.
Yeah. This guy has the same impact any era. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's not like Steph. It's not like Steph where Steph is like in that way Steph has changed the game more than LeBron in
I think
many
Steph changed
aspects.
the game more than anybody, basically.
And
Yeah.
he
Well, besides like
does get
maybe
the
like
benefit
Wilt
of the rule change.
Chamberlain or yeah. But like I think honestly it's like Wilt Chamberlain, Steph. Like you could argue
Yeah, probably Jordan.
there's like I just think like LeBron, the old heads, man. And it's so funny because the old heads always talk about how like the new generation's always on their phone, always on Twitter, social media. Dude, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how many times I see some ex-player either on a show, a podcast, Twitter. I'm just like, you guys seem to be making a lot of money off this thing that current players are using for free. They're not like LeBron's tweeting, he's not getting any money. I mean, he probably is, but
No, it's just, I mean, like, these people have lived for a long time, and
Too long. Get him out of here.
well, yeah, I mean, like they're starting to see, the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're just angry about life and that they're not still playing, and they're like these kids, they don't understand.
those kids back in our day.
I mean,
All right.
Players have really evolved. The game's evolved, and like or not, it's better TV.
Yeah.
Hey man, yeah, they know. TV execs know. I think they just need to start just blatantly following Marvel's like you know like
You're saying tighter jersey?
like entertainment strategy. Yeah, you just make like battle. You turn LeBron into Thanos and you turn Steph into Iron Man or something.
Super team.
Yeah. But let's
The
wrap.
Lakers super team right now is failing, and it's not
Yeah.
helping the league. The league's a worse place because of it.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is like, dude, how much they still get talked about, and they're such a mediocre basketball team.
They're sub 500 right now, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they're 16-8.
And they're bad.
When was the last time has LeBron ever finished a season under 500?
It's a good question.
I
would either know.
What about the first season on the Lakers?
Oh, where he was injured like all season long?
Yeah, and I mean they had like sophomore year Lonzo, Brandon Ingram before he like learned how to shoot the ball. They did have Kyle Kuzma though.
So LeBron was under 500 his rookie season. And then
that's it.
No again ever.
Yeah. They're at 500 right now.
They were 28 and 27 his first year in the Lakers. So he's never been under 500 since his rookie season in 03.
Yeah. Dude, I'm scared.
Yeah, you should be scared.
All right. I mean, let's wrap up the show, but as we always wrap up the show, let's do some good old fashioned betting.
Some gentlemen's
betting, man. All right. Over under Lakers at 500.
Take the over.
I'll take the over on that.
Yeah.
I think LeBron will just do it himself if he has to.
Okay, then will you take? How about Lakers making the playoffs?
More interesting. I'm still gonna take
Not the play-in, the actual playoffs. Like,
they're a playing team. I think they're a playing team.
do you think they'll get to the playoffs?
If you count the play-in game, then I think yes, they will make the playoffs. Do I think
so?
they make the playoffs without the play-in, without needing the play-in? Man. Let me hang on. I got to look at the Western Conference.
It's funny too because they didn't make the playoffs without the play-in last season, and no one's talking like this last season. You know, they were still. I guess they're coming off a championship win. So
Do the Celtics make the playoffs? They're currently 9 seed.
Dude, true. And also, what about the Knicks too? Dude, the Knicks are like.
I don't think the Knicks make the playoffs. I think they were overachieving. I don't think they ever were really that good.
I think they're having a lot of management issues. I mean, they like cut Kemba out of their rotation and then needed him back. Well, they needed him because of COVID, and he's just balling since they brought
drops like a 40 piece.
Yeah,
like, oh wait, this guy's like kind of good.
Why is this guy not playing? Like, even if he's not your starter, like, have him come off the bench. Like, the guy needs minutes.
Yeah, can somebody tell me why the Lakers signed Isaiah Thomas instead of Kemba Walker? Anybody want to tell me?
Yeah, I don't.
No, we're all going to keep it a secret from me still.
It might
Wait,
be
Isaiah Thomas?
Well, the Lakers signed him to a 10-day, and they had a roster spot, and Kemba was a free agent.
Well, he was. I don't know if he was.
No, he wasn't a free agent. Yeah, he was still on the roster.
Yeah, he was just out of the rotation. Like they weren't.
He was out of the rotation.
They signed him to the G League.
No, he was just like a DNP for like
DNP all that whole time.
I think so. I think so.
They sent him down.
No, I think he just wasn't playing, which I think is just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Doesn't make any sense.
There's something about being the Celtics point guard. Like if we dude, Isaiah Thomas,
Kyrie
Irving is like, I mean, Kyrie for different reasons, but who knows? Maybe that time in Boston really changed him intellectually and philosophically. I think Kemba.
Poor Kemba. All right,
dude,
what about
the Hawks? Oh, I was gonna say the Hawks. They got to what? They got to the semi-conference finals, right?
Yeah, I don't think the Hawks are making the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I got one for you. Do the Bulls make the conference finals?
The Bulls.
No. I think they're too young. They're too young.
Yeah, it depends on their matchups in the playoffs.
Well, so say the season ended now, we can look at their matchups. So they'd play the Wizards. They'd play the Wizards first. They'd probably beat the Wizards.
They take the Wizards, yeah.
And then who'd they play? They'd play like they'd play the Heat or the Cavs.
Yeah.
They could win definitely if it was the Cavs.
I think they would take it.
But I think it would be the Heat. So it'd probably be Wizards, Heat, Wizards, Heat, and then like Nets or Bucks. They play in the finals.
If they make the conference finals, right, Matt? That was what you're asking.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they just beat the Wizards and the Heat, I think they could do that. Honestly,
I think that too.
The Heat, though,
I don't think they top the Heat. I think they're too flawed as a team.
I also think like there's something about Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, dude. I mean, the Lakers saw that firsthand. Like, that man transforms.
I'm always surprised by how much basketball changes, come come
Yeah.
close to playoffs and in playoffs.
Yeah.
There are like diehard basketball fans that don't watch the regular season because of how different it is come playoffs.
Well, and the Bulls are young. I mean, their starting five is, Lonzo, Zach LaVine,
DeRozan, Vooch,
DeRozan, who is a vet, but
yeah.
he hasn't had much success in the playoffs, and Vooch has been to the first round maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I want to like disclaimer. I love this team. I mean, I
Yeah.
love that the Bulls
Yeah.
put together this island of misfit toys and are just
Killing it.
killing it right now. Vooch is a great player. DeRozan is, but I am very skeptical that they have the makeup of a deep run team here.
I think everyone will be rooting for him, but yeah, they'll be that underdog, even though they're the second seed.
I'm on track to lose some money to Johnny right now. I bet him that the Bulls would not win more than 8 games more than the Heat. I think that's what it was, or more than 7. So they're tied in wins right now. So I'm not necessarily on the road to losing, but
I think you might lose that one.
yeah.
My friend, you have that backwards. You bet that the Bulls would win. Like you.
Oh yes, sorry. That the Bulls would win.
They would
7
trail the
less
Heat by
than the
8
Heat.
games.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So you are gonna lose some money.
I am losing. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could even see the other way around too happen.
I would
think that's
love to see.
why
Best case scenario is the Bulls beat the Nets in the playoffs. That's best case NBA scenario. Would be a blast to watch this team pull an upset and beat the Nets.
I don't know, though, but go back to not super teams, but I think though better ratings, Bucks Nets rematch.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Probably true, but the Bulls are the Bulls. This is the Chicago Bulls. This is a big time franchise. People want to see succeeding. And I think if they're making deep runs, then all of a sudden those guys that aren't necessarily stars immediately become stars because you're a Chicago Bull playing in a championship. DeMar DeRozan becomes a household name. Vucevic becomes a household name. These guys are elevated to that next status. Same way with the Knicks. Like Knicks aren't a great team, but if the Knicks start winning a championship, Julius Randle's the face of the NBA.
Absolutely.
Dude, if the Knicks make the playoffs and lose in the first round, it's like
fucking
Julius Randle's like godsend, and the Knicks are back.
So I think the Celtics don't make the playoffs. Hawks don't make the playoffs. I think the Knicks do make the playoffs. But that's because I'm a Knicks fan.
I'll bet you Knicks versus Celtics because I think Celtics finish higher than the Knicks do.
Let's look at how about let's just go down and say 1 to 8 what we think. So we got I think
just before that I want to know if I've got some money on the line with Jay here.
Yeah, let's put some money on that.
Okay.
So you're betting the Celtics make the playoffs and I'm betting that the
Celtics finish higher than the Knicks.
Oh, okay. Cool. I like it. Yeah, I'll take that action.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, take that action.
That's.
I want to put a 6-pack on it.
Deal.
Done.
Man, we're gonna have a lot of beer flying around if
chalk it up. Chalk it up.
Make the Super Bowl.
Dude, we got it all on tape. So
yeah,
we got the chat logs.
Well, I mean, if the Patriots win the Super Bowl and the Celtics finish higher than the Knicks, I owe Matt 16 beers.
I really don't think the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl.
Me neither.
That's the other thing we didn't even talk about Super Bowl, or we didn't talk about playoff picture.
But wait, I do think the Lakers make the playoffs.
You mean with play-in or no play-in or either one?
No, I change it. I think they're going to be playing.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that it'll be playing.
Yeah.
Are there any other? Let's see. Here's an
Do the Cavs make the playoffs?
dude.
I don't
Okay,
think the Cavs make
I
the
don't
playoffs.
think so either. I don't think so either.
really, dude.
They're a 5 seed.
They're 5 seed. They're only 3 games behind the Nets.
I know.
How crazy is that?
It's
It is
wild, and
crazy.
I still don't. What's wild is I
still don't
still don't
think-
believe they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Really?
You want that action call?
I'll take that action for sure. Yeah, I think Cavs.
Oh yeah.
I think Cavs. No, I'll take action. I don't even think they need the play-in. I think they make the playoffs without the play-in.
Wow.
Okay, we'll call
Yeah.
the play-in a wash. If they're playing, it's a wash. If they don't need it, you win. You get 2-1 odds between Jeremy and I.
Okay.
And if they don't make it at all, then we win.
Okay. Yeah. No, honestly,
Chop it up.
Oh, yeah. What's the wager?
Who cares? Oh, 6-pack. We get a 6-pack again.
Dude.
All right. But Cole, are you ready to put 2 6-packs down that the
No, I'll
Cavs
take
make?
3. I'll take 3.
Oh yeah.
I'm okay with that.
We'll split a 6-pack.
Sharing is caring.
Nah, dude. They are looking good, dude. Darius Garland, and honestly, they need to get rid of Colin Sexton.
He's not playing.
No, I know exactly.
Yeah.
They're worse without him, and Darius Garland might even make the All-Star team this season, but definitely in the future he's gonna be a top point guard. Jared Allen, Ricky Rubio, and don't forget about Chetty, good old Chetty.
Jared Allen has been a revelation for that team. He's been fantastic.
And Mobley's been balling.
He was an afterthought in Brooklyn. Here, talk about this mistake. They chose DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Talk about this mistake. The Lakers are still choosing DeAndre Jordan. It doesn't even matter over who. They are just still choosing him. After all that just discarding of... That's the real crime here.
Yeah. It's certainly a crime.
It is the crime of the century. Okay, how about this? Let's go. We'll just look real quick. Western Conference. Grizzlies.
Do the Warriors finish as a number 1 seed?
Yes. Oh yeah. They're getting Clay back soon.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so.
We're probably all in agreement there.
Yeah.
What about the Grizzlies? There's some action to have there. Because right now they're 4th. And they're 2.5 games ahead of the Clippers, who just actually lost Paul George for, the foreseeable future. I mean, he's out for at least 6 weeks, maybe more, with a torn ligament in his shooting shoulder or something.
Well, I think that the Grizzlies' record right now, like they were without Ja for a number of weeks.
And they've been winning more. They've been winning, like their record without him is a lot better than with him.
Yeah, but I think they get around that.
Desmond Bane has been having one of the most revelation seasons I have ever seen. I mean, talk about most improved player. I read earlier today. I'll pull it up and we can throw it on the Twitter page. The stats that this guy has been putting up as a starter for the team are nothing short of elite.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Grizzlies have to worry. I think they're just going to be a-okay.
I think they cruise into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I think they'll stay there. Mavericks, dude. Mavericks are 2 games under. Wow, Lakers are still 7th place. That's because Lakers are still 7th place only because the Mavericks are also 2 games under 500.
Yeah, that is sort of wild.
And the Blazers are, oh my god.
Is that right? Play-ins between 8 and 9?
7, 7, 8,
Seven.
9, 10.
7 through 10.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Mavs are playing.
So who do you think though then will be in the playoffs? In 1 through 8 besides the Mavs.
I got you. I think not necessarily in this order, but I think you get Warriors, Suns, Jazz, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Lakers, Mavericks.
Clippers if Paul George get
No,
like
I
comes
don't
Here-
believe in them. I go either Spurs or Blazers at that point.
Yeah, I'll take action on this. I don't think the Clippers make the playoffs.
Oh, I don't either. I thought that was gonna be my
Yeah.
hot take.
Oh, that was no. You.
I think that
You.
of all of the teams in the playoff picture right now, they're definitely the one to lose it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think they fall off.
I think it 100% comes down to how long is Paul George out.
Here, how about this for my consistent hot take? I say the Trailblazers don't even make the play-in tournament.
Wow. Okay, I think they make the playoffs. I think they enter the play-in tournament and they make it.
Who do they beat? Who do they beat?
I think they probably beat the Spurs, Timberwolves, Clippers,
Or Mavs.
maybe Mavs. Yeah, I could see them beating the Mavs. Topic for another day. How long until people start criticizing Luka for the Mavs underachievements?
Oh yeah.
But
Oh my god.
for another day.
Well, not even last episode, but maybe 2 episodes ago, I did like a quick blurb about him. And like Jason Kidd, like in a press conference, said something like, "This dude needs to stop like arguing calls and running back on defense." Yeah, he is not the golden boy anymore. That's all.
But despite not being the golden boy, the fans and media have not really turned on him.
Yeah, it's true. That's a great point.
Yeah, yeah.
He's too pretty.
I also don't think that they care enough. If I'm being honest,
About the Mavs.
like I don't think anyone thinks like the Mavs are like the Grizzlies. You know, like the Grizzlies are a good story, but who's actually going to talk about the Grizzlies? You know,
That's a good point.
which
Yeah,
is
but the Mavs are
sad. But
Dallas. I mean, they're not Memphis. They're Dallas. They should be a big hot team.
They're just like like Luca is Luca and garners a lot of attention and hype, but your next big guy is Porzingis, who's like pretty overrated in my opinion.
That's a classic butthurt Knicks fan right there. That's exactly what that is.
yeah, can you for once can you not think with your Knicks
With your
Knicks
Knicks, dude?
boner?
I think that they're not the most. I mean, Luca is exciting to watch. Obviously, those step back threes are just like too fun. But I don't think the Mavs are that exciting of a team to watch as a team.
No, they're really
Well,
not.
then, before we head out here, Cole, do you and I have action on the Blazers?
Yeah, I'll take action that they don't even make the play in.
All right, done.
Okay.
Chalk
Also,
that.
We need to start writing these down.
yeah, true. We do actually. We do.
We'll have a record.
Well, we'll have to like when all said and done, we'll have to go back and watch. It'll be good because we have to watch and critique ourselves. Here's one more hot take. I say the Timberwolves make the playoffs.
Oh, no chance. I'm sorry, no chance.
I say, I say, I say, I say they make the play-in and get to the playoffs.
No,
They get the 8th seed.
I don't think so.
Because here's how I see it going. I see it going. I could see Clippers like 10th. Oh, I could see like Clippers or Spurs be 10th, Timberwolves 9th or 8th, and I could see them definitely beating the Clippers or the Spurs, and I can definitely see them beating the Mavericks.
I think the Spurs finish higher than the Timberwolves do.
I would too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See here, what I've had Patrick Beverly out for the past few weeks. I think he's actually way more of a difference maker for them. I say also, I think Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, he seems like he's someone who will thrive in the playoffs. He seems like he'll love
I agree with.
those big moments, like he'll be dropping 30, 40 pieces.
Yeah, but he's still young. I mean, like I agree with
agree.
you. It does seem like he can shoulder that responsibility a bit more than some other rookies.
But then who do you think would beat them
Would beat the Timberwolves.
in the play-in tournament? Between
Blazers.
like say
Blazers, Spurs. Yeah, Blazers and Spurs.
You think Spurs? You think the
think Spurs.
Spurs with Oh my I see I don't think
Lakers, Mavs. I'd take any of those teams over the Timberwolves.
Yeah. Nonsense, Cole. Nonsense.
I think I think the only possible team, if the Lakers are in the play-in tournament, I think they beat them. But here's the thing though, is if Lakers are 7th, the Lakers only need to beat one team. And so the Wolves don't necessarily need to beat the Lakers. And then it's down to the Trailblazers, Spurs, or Clippers to beat the first game. I think they can beat all those teams. And then it's like the Mavericks. I think Luka has yet to find his rhythm in the playoffs.
I agree with
Fair enough.
your assessment, and I see that path, like for sure, but I wouldn't bet on it.
We'll see.
I don't think the Timberwolves make the playoffs.
All right, then let's take some action. Then I'll take
Chalk
that
it
action.
out.
Done.
I'm done.
All right, I got that, dude. I got that action so good. That action's very good, I have to say. There is something about that action that is very, very good.
Man, it's getting me excited.
The Marshawn Lynch quote right there. About that action, boss.
All right,
send us out, Cole.
Yeah, that was quite the episode back. That's the thing. We need to do episodes more often. That way we don't go for like 5 hours and just talk about like literally everything that happened.
Very much a stream of consciousness show that just kind of flowed topic to topic.
Dude, the news don't stop, and we gotta keep up with it. But yeah, that'll wrap up our dad's sport ball podcast and talk show straight from Mexico and wherever you guys are. I don't know where you guys, Miami and
DC.
The Bay. Make sure to catch us on everything you've ever known, social media wise, except for Instagram. I think we should just stay away from Instagram for the most part. But yeah, you can catch this recording on YouTube, Spotify. Check our Twitter as well, and we'll be back hopefully. Let's shoot for another episode this weekend. Maybe Sunday, some football action or something. Because we talked mostly about NBA this episode, so let's get back on that football action. But yeah, make sure to catch us and catch all our past episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and that will do it. Later, boys.
See ya.
Later.